Hello everyone, welcome to Maritime SoftwareHub, the People Podcast. Today, something slightly different. I'm now based in our US location. My family and I have relocated to Tampa in Florida, and we've had a couple of weeks off the podcast just to sort of obviously go through the process of moving out here, setting up the new business and getting things all organized. So normal service will resume in 2 weeks' time with the next episode of the show going out. But I want to just share a short overview of what it's been like kind of relocating out to the States, from the UK in particular, just in case anybody is thinking about doing the same thing, or maybe you have a team, or you're looking to hire someone perhaps in the US and you wonder what the processes might be like to get up and running and start working essentially. So um, yeah, I guess obviously normally we're a recruitment agency based in Europe. Typically, I've been kind of living and working in and around London and the southeast of Kent for most of my, I guess, sort of career essentially. Speaking daily to the North European and Southern European ship owner, chartering, and maritime technology kind of companies, helping them recruit kind of commercial professionals predominantly. But also over the last 5 or 6 years, we've been working more and more so in the American markets. So helping companies hire in places like New York in particularly, also Texas, Houston and Austin, and also in Florida. So my family and I decided to move the business. Well, I say move, expand the business essentially. It's always been part of the plan ever since I started the business in 2019 to have a US presence. So it's taken us 5 years to get there. But I'm really excited to now be in a position where we can, confidently run things from Europe from afar. And also I've got my team that I can kind of rely on to help with sourcing candidates and working with clients that are still based covering the European markets. So why did we pick Florida? Essentially, we thought that it would be a good kind of base, essentially, in the States. That means we can still talk to the European markets regularly. There's only a 5-hour time difference between where we are in Tampa and the UK, and then just sort of 7 hours or so from places like Athens and other areas that we talk to regularly. So I thought it's very much achievable to try and split our day up where we can work sort of European markets at most mornings and then also North American throughout the day. And yeah, 1 week in, it's been going really well so far. Lots to get a head around and get used to. So I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But yeah, something that we weren't quite anticipating was, well, I guess I was anticipating it to happen, but maybe not on the day we were supposed to fly, was a hurricane. So I'm sure lots of people heard about it in the news or so. The last couple of weeks, there was Hurricane Helene, which hit the sort of northern part of Florida on the Gulf Coast. That did impact Tampa, but more so due to flooding and that type of thing. So we were keeping an eye on that and the kind of impacts that will have for where our house is and the area. But then we're also kind of tracking another hurricane system that was developing more so on the west side of the Gulf, which turned into Hurricane Milton. And that, over the kind of days running up to our flight, turned in and developed into a Category 5 hurricane. So we were counting down the days and keeping an eye on whether or not Tampa Airport would still be open and what it might mean for the logistics of getting our pets and dogs flying out there and how it all works. So we kept a close eye on it, and yeah, we were really recommended by a number of people, in particularly on places like LinkedIn and emails that reached out and just really advised that we don't fly out during that time. And yeah, so it turned out that on the Wednesday we were due to fly, the hurricane hit, and it was the first time in over 100 years that a direct hurricane has ever hit Tampa. So I'm not sure whether it was a sign or whether it was just our luck. So we our flights were cancelled and we moved it back to the Saturday, so 3 or 4 days after, where we were able to fly out. Admittedly, things are all a bit up in the air in terms of relocating the pets, that they weren't able to fly on the same flights as us anymore. So that had to get pushed back about 4 or 5 days. That was quite a process just to try and organize that, which my wife, to be fair, she did all of the organization when it comes to our dogs. So luckily that all went okay in the end. But it meant once we're out here, a lot of things were kind of still half sort of open. Like some of the shops were kind of getting back and they're recovering from the storm. There was a lot of flooding in certain areas south of Tampa. So Sarasota was the main place that it was hit. And then it went straight across the coast. So, when it went inland across to places like Orlando. And there are about 8 tornadoes that also hit throughout Florida, which is pretty unheard of. So it was quite destructive. And as you drive around, you can see trees down, you can see buildings and houses that have literally been demolished in some areas. So it's pretty eye-opening to go around some of those areas. But as I say, luckily where we're based, just north of Tampa, a place called Wesley Chapel, it wasn't where the eye of the storm was, luckily. So we were okay. But yeah, so why did we pick Tampa? I mentioned obviously because it was a good time zone in terms of being able to speak to Europe and obviously the rest of America. We'll be speaking regularly to Houston in particular and other areas of Texas. And also as our kind of US scope and client base grows, we'll probably start to do more in places like California, that type of thing. But for our main kind of commodity trading, shipping, maritime markets, it's going to be Texas and then the East Coast that we're mainly speaking to. So sorry if I alienate any other cities or states, but to begin with, that's where we're going to be prospecting in. And the other reason about America is there's just so much opportunity. I mean, compared to Europe, I mean, when I started Cordell Beaumont in 2019, there are maybe 2 or 3 other recruitment agencies that focused on the maritime technology niche in particular. Obviously, there's well-established ones in the commercial shipping side, but not so many that were really honing into that sort of maritime software sales space. And now I've just found that as the maritime technology markets have evolved, more and more of the SaaS companies have come in. They've become a bit more Americanized, where they've grown and built their own internal talent teams. That, as well as the addition of more competition, essentially, in terms of recruiters and other agencies, I just felt that, it's getting a little bit saturated. I've always wanted to personally move out to the States. And I felt business-wise, every time we're speaking to clients, they're getting a little bit inundated with other recruiters. And it just felt like we're just knocking on doors and getting things pushed back. So luckily in the States, we've had a couple of really good clients that we've worked with regularly over the years, and they've kind of helped us open a few initial doors. And now very much we're in hunting mode and trying to kind of develop our network. So I'll be regularly attending events, not just in Tampa, but in Florida and hopefully places like New York and Connecticut early next year. There's the CMA event, and then Houston and other areas. There's the regular maritime and tech and also energy events I'll be going to. So I'm really looking forward to sort of getting out there and getting to know the culture a bit. So yeah, as I mentioned, in case anybody is looking to do the same thing, I'm going to just go back to the beginning and just talk you through a little bit about the process and the time frame. So I started thinking about realistically moving to Florida. I think it was around February this year, 2024. It's now October. And I started the process. I spoke to RecruitHub, who is the platform provider that helps my agency scale, and they help with our back office functions and things. So it was helpful kind of getting their take on the idea. Spoke to a company called PGC Group, which has really been a real big help, and they help other recruitment agencies kind of expand in America. But from about February on to sort of like March, April, May time, I was trying to sort of build out, I guess, a client base and a candidate base in the States from the UK to try and sort of get our feet in the door and get the ball rolling. We used a really great immigration firm called Ellis Porter. They helped me with my visa. So I had to get what was called a L1A visa, which is essentially like an intercompany transfer type of visa. And in my case, it was called a new office because we created Cordell Beaumont LLC. And that's going to run alongside Cordell Beaumont Limited, which is the main company. So there'll be basically part of the group. So our European clients and our European kind of recruitment will very much still carry on, and we'll be working daily on that as well. So Yeah, that visa is like a 5-year visa. Essentially, you have like milestones you need to hit, and you need to do extensions after a first year and a couple of other years, sort of thing. So that was quite a process to kind of put together the material. As a founder, you kind of, or any senior manager, you need to be able to evidence the fact that you're kind of in an executive position where you can, show that you're not just doing all the work yourself, that you are kind of, you have a team, that you're responsible for hiring, performance reviews, that sort of stuff. So you do that. And then you have to kind of make your case for, I guess, the scope and the opportunity in the market. And then talk about successes you've had over the years in your current market and your profile, that type of thing. So that was brilliant. With the help of Ellis Porter, they helped create a 5-year business plan for us, which was really, really useful. And then, you pay obviously all the recruitment the agency fees for the immigration. You submit it all, and then you go. Once that's approved, it takes a couple of months to be reviewed. You could fast track it, which is what we did in the end. You have to pay, I think it's like an extra $2,800 or so to fast track the process, which I highly recommend doing, because I think we had our agreement within 14 days, maybe less. So it saved months of waiting. But then after that initial agreement kind of in paper, you then have to book your appointment at the US Embassy, where you go in and you have an interview. They check all the paperwork you prepared. That was a bit of a process, and I took my wife and kids obviously with us because they're all part of our visa. They're on an L2 visa. So brilliant, really good process. I mean, as I said, it's now October. We moved here last week, so I don't know what that is. About the 12th of October, I think it was, or something. We flew out eventually, and our Corbel Beaumont, we've basically been able to trade since the 1st of October in terms of our visa going live and things. So we're fully up and running. I think it was just, I wouldn't have been able to do it without the help of an attorney. I think it's so complicated. And even once you're here, booking things like arranging your social security number, getting a mobile, getting a bank account set up, that sort of thing, you need help where you can get it. So I kind of a few little tips if you are moving out here. We came here in July to sort of look at office space, look at obviously areas to live, that type of thing. So during that time, I bought a US, like a pay-as-you-go phone, and that's been really, really valuable. Just having that phone number where you can give to anything. You need to buy stuff online, they always ask for a phone number, and then they send you text to confirm things. So you really need to have a US phone number early on. And and then after that, now we've been here for a week or so, you need to try and organize things like your health insurance, and all kind of everything kind of revolves around that social security number. So excuse me. So we had that, we went to the appointment yesterday, got that arranged, and then you have to wait a week or so for that to come through. So that should be with us soon. Excuse me. So now, in terms of the business though, we're really, really excited to be up and running now. I mentioned the podcast is still very much kind of going to carry on. I'm going to scale it back to doing every 2 weeks. So we went through a period the last sort of month or two of doing one a week, and I just found doing that on top of recruitment and trying to really kind of put our all into the relocation was just a bit too much, spread us a bit thin. So going to go back to doing releasing the podcast every other Wednesday, so we can really kind of put our real sort of attention on recruitment, as well as inviting interesting guests and things on the show. So for now, I think that's really it. I just wanted to give a quick update on where we are. I mentioned obviously what it's been like moving over here so far. I mean, first impressions of living out here has been fantastic. I think after the hurricane, it's just literally blown away all the kind of the bad weather that was there, and it's just been blue skies ever since, to be honest with you. I don't know how long that'll last, but luckily it's been glorious. We've seen 5 alligators in like 8 days, so it's very true what you hear. They're literally everywhere. Even just outside our house, you go on little trail walks like with the dogs and stuff, and there's alligators sat on the bank. I mean, other than that, like things like food has been fantastic. Lots of different places to eat. you just got to try and rein it in basically and not go too mad in the first couple of weeks of being out here. But there's so much to do. But if you've got kids and things, obviously it's different when you're not on a holiday. Now you're kind of living and working. You get into a routine. So yeah, our weekends are going to be full of exploring all different sort of suburbs around Tampa, and we've got obviously the Everglades not too far away, all different beaches around Sarasota and Clearwater near us. So we're going to be going around there. Also, I wanted to mention about the whole relocation of our belongings and furniture. So at the moment, it might be a little bit echoey in here because we haven't had our container arrived yet from the UK. That went out. It picked up all our stuff from our house. I think it was early September. There was a couple of weeks towards the end of September. There was rumors about the port strike all around the east coast of the US and Florida. So the Gulf Coast. So that did go ahead, but luckily they only ran for 1 or 2 days. So it hasn't actually impacted our belongings getting here. So at the moment, the container is in Tampa on its way to us, which is great. We used a company called Icon Relocation. I've worked with the guys in the past when I used to work at Clarkson's, and they're really, really great team. So I really recommend working with them. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but if it's helpful, I mean, we had, I guess, like a 4-bedroom house worth of belongings transported to Florida. and that, I mean, it's taken, probably going to take about a month in total, I'd say. And cost wise, you get quotes of anything from around 5,000 up to about 10,000 pounds, depending on what you want moved, like how heavy it is, how much, how intricate it is to pack. So we kind of went for the service where they pack everything there for you. So things like tables, they create crate for, and anything delicate, they especially wrap up and things. And they will supposedly, when it all arrives, unpack it as well and put it all in place where you want to. And I think we paid about £8,500. So it's quite an investment, but again, we got quite a lot of stuff. Because we do plan to stay here for a few years, fingers crossed. So we want to get most of the things that we need. And at the moment, we're literally living without a table, without sofas, without beds. So we've had to buy the kids, get their beds. But for now, it's just a bit basic until we get the stuff going. But it's all part of the adventure. And can't wait to sort of see what more the States have to offer. So I mentioned the business plan and what we have a part of our visa out here. So I'm going to be growing a team in North America. Need to be essentially part of the visa is showing that we're scaling a business and you're hiring local US citizens essentially. So within the next 6 months or so, I'm looking to hire at least 1 or 2 people. So they'll be based in Tampa with me. We've got an office just down here, which is a really nice kind of like a WeWork type of setup, but we have our own sort of private space, and it's fantastic. So you've got restaurants all around you, and literally 5-minute drive from my house here. So it's going to be very nice, and it'd be bit different to the city, going into the city of London, but really looking forward to it. So watch this space. In a few months' time, hopefully we'll be kind of advertising for people to join our team. But I think otherwise, thank you very much for tuning in and for staying, following the channel. I'll be back, and if you want to reach out to me, obviously in relation to any kind of hiring activity in the States or Europe, please do so. Or if you're looking for another role, feel free to get in touch. It's www.caldwellbeaumont.com, and it's Callum@caldwellbeaumont.com. Thank you.